Can you hear me? Hey,
Hey, can you hear?
no.
She still can't hear.
Mm-mm.
I don't want to sound redundant, but your volume's on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Did you do an audio check on your end?
I don't know how to do that on. Let me look. Okay, here.
Joyce, can you try talking?
Hello, hello. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear you, though.
Okay, I'm going to give my phone to Willie. Hello?
Hi, Willie. Hey, let me. Go ahead. Hello? Willie?
Yeah, we're having some sort of malfunction and we're trying to figure it out.
Okay.
So I'm going to give the phone back to Trustee Sierra real quick, and we'll be right back with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll call you right back once we have some update.
Okay, bye.
Testing. Oh.
Hello.
Hello. Oh,
Test 1 2.
I can hear.
Test 1 2.
I can hear test 1, 2. Thank you.
Okay, are we ready now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to get the approval of May 22nd regular board meeting.
Excuse me, I'm
Board
sorry.
minutes?
We do need to finish the roll call for the approval of minutes.
Okay, approval. Did we get a motion and a second already, right?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
let's go ahead and do the roll call.
Apologize. Trustee Birchie? Trustee Covington?
Aye.
Trustee Harrent?
Aye,
Trustee
sorry.
Harrent, I believe you
Sorry.
might have yourself muted.
Yeah, aye, sorry.
Thank you so much. Trustee Hill?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Vice President Sierra?
Aye.
President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries.
Awesome.
Thank you, President Johnson. I was going to invite up to the podium Brian Matias from Clifton Larson Allen. He worked on our audit engagement this year, and he'll report the results.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the time. My name is Brian Mattis. I'm a director with CLA or Clifton Larson Allen. Here to present the audit results of the Park District's 2023 audit. And just kind of mention ahead of time, we had a more detailed discussion during the Finance Committee meeting, so this presentation will be a little bit more high level and to the point. So it won't be the same presentation a second time. If you could flip the slide one more. There we go. Thank you. As part of the audit, we issued 3 different audit deliverables, all 3 which are listed on the screen here. First one being the governance communication letter, and then our opinion on the audited financial statements, and then the government auditing standards report. Could flip. The first one being the governance communication letter. This letter is an opportunity for us to communicate important audit matters to the board. A few of the important topics that are touched on in that letter are listed here on the screen. One of the more important ones would be changes in accounting policy. The district did implement one new accounting standard this year, which would be GASB 96. This standard was required to be implemented in 2023, and it touches on the topic of IT arrangements and how those get recorded in the financial statements ultimately. There was ultimately no material impact on the district's financial statements as a result of GASB 96. Another important topic that's touched on in governance communication is estimates. Similar to previous years, the 2 significant estimates that are touched on in the district's financial statements are the net pension liability and the total OPEB liability. And both these balances and activity are based on actuarial valuations that are determined by independent actuaries. There were no disagreements or no difficulties with management. We did not propose any material audit adjustments, and then we also identified no new uncorrected misstatements during the 2023 audit. You could flip. Thank you. On the screen here are the second and third audit deliverable that we issued as part of the audit. The top bullet point there is the district's audited financial statements. We ultimately issued a clean, unmodified opinion on the financial statements. And then we also issued the government auditing standards report, which was also a clean, unmodified opinion. This report, the SCAS report, was previously last year, was included in the single audit report. There was no single audit that was needed for the district this year, which is why it's its own standalone document in 2023. If you could flip. And that's all I have prepared for the board presentation. Just would like to take a chance to thank Carrie, Lynn, and management for helping with all our requests, answering all our questions during the audit. Definitely make the audit process pretty smooth. Thank you. Any questions?
I just have a comment. I appreciate the report. I just think it's important to really celebrate Carrie and her team. The financials, they come across impressive, and to continue to this record and pattern, at least since I've been on this board, it just speaks volumes to the work that you and your team are doing. So thank you, and thank you as well.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to receive and file the audit report.
Second.
Is there a question? Roll call.
Trustee Burchey? Trustee Covington?
Aye.
Trustee Harrent?
Aye.
Trustee Hill?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Vice President Sierra?
Aye.
President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries. The annual comprehensive financial report. Okay, thank you. Staff reports, Executive Director.
Good evening. I have a couple of things to celebrate tonight. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate all of our staff and the community on a very successful Parkapalooza this last weekend. In front of you, you all have a soda. This last weekend was our inaugural Soda Pop-Up-Palooza. I struggle to say it every time, but it's so fun to say. Soda Pop-Palooza. So you have some fun flavors. We had, I don't know how many people came through and had the opportunity to taste crazy sodas and then buy sodas to take home with them. So I want to thank our staff for being innovative and identifying that opportunity to add to our Parkapalooza experience. If the guys over there will flip through some of the slides, I want to share just some images that were a part of Peoria Journal-Star coverage. You'll see kiddos in the Adventure Palooza here. Just kind of flip through if you would, Miles. You'll see different elements to include the Ninja Warrior course. This is from the concert on Friday night. I think that picture is just magic. But you can see a full crowd. This picture is from the drone show on Saturday night. The drone show this year it far exceeded the number of participants from last year, and it is something that we know will continue to grow. We saw on social media the next day pictures from both sides of the river, from up in the Twin Towers. As I was driving home, I was getting text messages and pictures from John Morris, the CEO at the Peoria Riverfront Museum, who talked about their experience there watching the show. So it was absolutely an example of what vibrancy in Peoria can and should look like. So I thank you for supporting that event, and I certainly thank our staff for their many, many, many hours of effort to make it a fabulous experience. Okay, don't start yet, okay? Next, I want to highlight, it has been a topic of conversation amongst the board and staff for quite a while now, but I wanted to let everybody know I did share with you electronically the initial findings of the AZA accreditation folks who came back to visit us in late May. They gave a glowing report. We're very, very pleased with all of the improvements and the efforts that took place in preparation for that. I want to thank Matt Freeman and his M&R team and all the parks folks, forestry, you name it. They all spent time in the zoo trying to make it a prettier place for sure, and certainly a safer place. I want to thank members of our team who pulled weeds and laid mulch and did all kinds of things in order to support the zoo, specifically Yvonne and her team. I also want to take this opportunity to say that that is a heck of a way to head out the door. So I'm going to share a video with you that was on the news 2 nights ago celebrating Yvonne Strode, and then we'll talk about her on the other side. I, is it okay? How about now? Nope. Okay. All right. In addition to all that that just happened, I know Yvonne is very uncomfortable in the spotlight, but I want to take this moment to say thank you to her. We are beyond appreciative of the many years of service that she has provided, and her commitment to the animals is most evidenced by, if you've ever walked through the zoo with her, the way the animals react when she walks near them. It's a clear indicator to me. Animals never lie, right? So her heart is giant, and she is absolutely she's done so much work for us, and we appreciate the impact that she has had on Peoria Zoo and on the Peoria Park District. I have some flowers for her that I'm going to let go of this button and have her come up front and say a few words if she's so inclined. But we appreciate her service. Friday is her last day. We will be having a small internal experience to say thank you if you want to come join us from sometime between 1 and 3 at the zoo.
Yeah, leaving after that AZA inspection is absolutely wonderful. And it took everyone there. Forestry, oh, got another tree, got another tree, got another tree. M&R there every morning. Hey, I'll meet you there at 7 o'clock. I'll let you in if you come. And they were great helping us. So I think things are on a great track. Max is very enthusiastic, ready to get going. I almost gave him a heart attack this morning. I did not mean to. He was helping me clear the zoo, and I was telling him, well, usually the lion likes to sneak up on you and then roar at the very last minute. Well, she didn't do it, and but finally she did, and I got excited and screamed. Well, he thought something was wrong. I said, oh, no, she just came to greet us. So I think everything's going forward. I'm excited about looking at Ace Torrey's contract later today, just to continue the forward momentum. And I thank you all for the opportunity to serve the community and take care of my babies. Thank you.
Yvonne, could you come back to the stage, please?
Emily was correct. Spotlight is not where I want to be. But
Yeah, and she is. I realized that over the years. But I would be remiss if I didn't to you. First of all, this is kind of bittersweet for me because you've been here all these years. You've done a great job. But I just wanted to say thank you for all that you've done for the Peoria Park District and the zoo, and the many times that children that were less fortunate than others had an opportunity to come through that zoo, and you made that happen, and their families. I just want to say I really appreciate those kind of things that you did, not only with your job, but also with our community. And you're going to be missed. I certainly hate to see you go, but I know you got another chapter of your life. But I just want to say personally, from Robert Johnson, the Board of Trustees, and the rest of the Board of Trustees, on behalf of the Peoria Park District, we really did appreciate your work here. Really
thank
did.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If I may just jump in. So, just since my time on this board, I've been able to take advantage of what's offered to all of our trustees, which is, going behind the scenes with either Miss Yvonne or a member of her staff. And, most recently I had done the tour with Miss Yvonne, along with my nephews and my family and I. And it was just such a beautiful experience, And then at the end of the tour, I realized I was like, oh, Miss Yvonne is exiting, and I just can't help, I haven't known you long personally, Miss Yvonne, but that landmark, the Zoo of Peoria, has just meant so much to me, you know, and others from the community as well. And to be able to meet you and come to learn about you and the commitment that you have had, I mean, it really strikes a sweet spot for me, you know. So I just want to say thank you for shaping lives through experience and exposure. You have a lot to celebrate, you know, and as someone who didn't really know too much about the development aspect and the programmatic aspect, but then to come learn about it in this space and then see one of the primary individuals that's been directly responsible and directly correlated for a lot of that development, I mean, that's full circle for me, and it allows me to cherish a lot of what you have done, a lot of what your team has done, even so much more. You have a lot to celebrate. You've cultivated strong partnerships. I mean, whether that be through PZA or other organizations, you've made that zoo accessible through what Mr. Johnson said, by offering quality of life access to folks across socioeconomic. And you've directly contributed to the building of Africa right here in Peoria. So just thank you, Ms. Yvonne.
Thank you.
And Yvonne, of everybody, I was doing really impressed. Congratulations, Yvonne, and welcome.
Microphone.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Okay. Superintendent of Planning?
Our monthly reports before you. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try and answer them. A lot going on right now, a lot of projects underway. The playground at Glen Oak Park is shaping up. I'm still hoping for July, August opening, so kids will enjoy that one. So if you got any questions, I'd be glad to try and answer them.
Any questions of Becky?
I do have one question. It doesn't pertain to anything that's on this list, but it is about capital development. Do we have any plans for the basketball court at Treewind Park that rest on the hill? And if so, what are those plans?
Right now, we're just leaving it as is, and we'll see how this plays out. Because I know we have the new ones up top, and I'm sure they're getting used quite a bit. So we'll have to see what we want to do with the one on the hill.
I'd love if maybe in planning committee or some other place, if we can, you know, talk about a strategy. Recently, a group of young people have approached me talking about preserving that in some form or fashion, but they also talk about the inconvenience of that resting on the hill. And I mean, you all have heard my story about having to chase the ball down that hill plenty of times. So maybe, you know, I think that as we continue development, one, that is one of the larger basketball courts that's starting to be used around Peoria. So that's extremely exciting as we continue to increase the foot traffic there. But two, you know, as we think about placemaking, using Trustee Hill's verbiage, but also preserving heritage, you know, maybe there's something that we could do to help maintain that or, you know, reinvigorate it in some sense.
Okay. Chief of Police?
Good evening. Before you, you have the police activity summary for May. Be more than happy to make any comments or commentary on the report.
Microphone.
Sorry, Joyce.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm talking about May 31st events. Just curious, do we have an ordinance that prevents squealing, screeching tires?
Yes.
We actually do.
Yes.
But that's-
A lot of our ordinances with traffic mirror the state statute, probably a little different language, but the spirit is there, so yes.
Any other questions of the chief? Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Finance Committee, approval of accounts payable, motion.
Mr. President, the Finance Committee met earlier today. We reviewed the accounts payable and unanimously recommend to the board that we pay the accounts payable that are shown in the materials attached to the agenda. So as Chair of the Finance Committee, I will move approval of those accounts payable items shown in the agenda materials.
Is there a second? Question? Roll call.
Trustee Birchey? Trustee Covington?
Aye.
Trustee Harrod?
Aye.
Trustee Hill?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Vice President Sierra?
Aye.
President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
8B, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Committee.
Thank you.
Minutes.
Oops, sorry. Thank you, President Johnson. The DEIA committee meeting minutes for March 19th as well as April 16th are before you. I'll entertain any comments or questions.
Any questions?
No. President Johnson, I do want to share just one thing. You know, as we look to sustain our DEIA committee work, as well as welcome our new Director of Equity and Inclusion, one thing that I've spoken to Emily about and Ms. Brianna Cobb's, right? Yeah, Cobb, about is start to identify some strategic policy initiatives for the DEIA committee to adopt and to present to the full board for consideration and adoption. So that's just one significant activity that, you know, we are going to be looking to present to the full board as we continue to evaluate sustainability and longevity within the committee.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Sierra. Other questions? 8C, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Committee.
Absolutely. So I'll kick us off, and then I'll ask Trustee Berchi as well as Emily to chime in. But again, as we look at potential policies and procedures for the district to adopt as it pertains to DEIA, Trustee Berchi had first introduced, and now we've carried over, you know, how can we further drive and achieve reflecting those that we serve, both those who live within the district, but also those from a regional aspect as well. So this is, you know, this item is just one step towards ensuring that we as a district reflect those that we are serving. And then from there, I'll just turn it over to Trustee Berchi prior to kicking it to Emily, just in case. Do you have anything that you may want to add? Okay, Emily, did you have anything that you may want to add?
I caught it before Joyce said anything. This has been an ongoing conversation with the DEIA committee since probably this time last year. And after a lot of reflection, we were able to come to consensus that the target demographic for our workforce profile should really reflect that of Peoria County in recognition of the percentage of people who come regionally from the MSA. That number is not reflective of the goals that we want to achieve. So we found what we believe is a really appropriate, I'm not even sure it's a middle ground, but it is a target for our workforce to have a minority percentage of 29.4%.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Emily. With that, entertain any comments or questions as it pertains to this item.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Impressive numbers.
President Johnson, I will ask that we do a receive and file for this to adopt this as a full board.
Okay, is it okay?
So, President Johnson, I move to receive and adopt the DEIA committee's target workforce demographics to ensure that our racial demographic makeup as of our workforce is minimally 29.4%.
Okay. All right, I don't think I need a vote for that, though, do we? To receive and file?
I receive and file.
Okay. All right, well taken.
So I guess, and I guess I defer to Emily and Attorney Streeter. I would actually like for the full board to vote on this, just to show support of this, as I do think this is a significant step that we collectively should identify that we support. So Trustee Streeter, how would we go about that?
You can move to have the board approve it. On the agenda, it says it's up for approval.
Perfect. So I'll move for approval of line item 8C.
I'll second.
Question? Roll call?
Trustee Burchey? Trustee Covington?
Aye.
Trustee Harrent?
Aye.
Trustee Hill?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Vice President Sierra?
Aye.
President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
8D, Planning Committee, a Memorial Bench, River Bluff Trail in Robinson Park. Need the approval. So we need a motion.
So moved. This is Lori.
Second.
Question? Roll call?
Trustee Burchey? Trustee Covington?
Aye.
Trustee Harrent?
Aye.
Trustee Hill?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Vice President Sierra?
Aye.
President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries. 8E, Planning Committee, also Nebraska Avenue Improvement Easements. Planning Committee recommends for board approval. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
I'll second. I will second.
Question? Roll call?
Trustee Burchey?
Aye.
Trustee Covington?
Aye.
Trustee Harrent?
Aye.
Trustee Hill?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Vice President Sierra?
Aye.
President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries. Under new business, we have a design proposal for the Peoria Zoo. Someone going to be presenting that before we take a vote on it? Do we know?
So there's no vote yet. This is the same document that actually was attached to your last board agenda. We did not have a chance to talk about that at the board meeting. As of the time of the publishing of this agenda, we still don't have a finalized contract, but as soon as we do want to be able to vote on that, even if that is by phone poll, so that we can move the process forward. So we wanted to leave the item on the agenda in case there were questions from any trustees that we could answer in order to have this be a smooth process when the contract is finalized. That's why we're trying to sign a contract so that he can do that. Yes.
Thank you again. Pre-travel authorization for President Johnson to attend IAPD Conference Committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Question? Roll call?
Trustee Burchey? Trustee Covington?
Aye.
Trustee Harrent?
Aye.
Trustee Hill?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Vice President Sierra?
Aye.
President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries. We have some calendar consent items at 10 through
Can I-
10E.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
I'm not really wanting to pull anything off. So in the discussion about asphalt and Portland cement, there was a statement about in one project, we went with asphalt, in the other with Portland cement. And we sort of used a reverse argument about emissions and pollutions. Can you explain which is more polluting, the Portland cement or the asphalt?
Okay, I'm not understanding clearly, Trustee Harrant, what you're saying. Could you repeat that again and be a little bit
Yeah.
more clear?
Oh, yes,
Speak louder.
sorry. Yes, Portland's in two of the projects. One, the decision was made to use Portland cement, and in the other, asphalt, if I understood correctly. And it was related to the pollution, carbon emissions and that, as I understood it. And I was just not certain, is one really worse than the other, or are they just both really bad? Or not? Are you, got the microphone?
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
So in the environmental stewardship analysis and the commitment analysis, we go through the environmental effects of some of our choices in building materials. So, yes, basically asphalt, you have the choice here between asphalt, which uses, petroleum byproducts taken from fossil fuels from the ground, or you have the choice to use Portland cement, which uses a vast amount of energy to convert a natural lime product into basically a powder that reacts with water to form cement. So I think Trustee Harant has it right. Both materials are polluting, both in their production, their extraction, their manufacture, and their transport. But again, it's a choice we have to make with basically all building materials. The environmental stewardship analysis does not ask what, which one is necessarily best, but we did want to include the fact and acknowledge the fact that things that we do have an environmental impact. So in the case of the differences between concrete and asphalt, since they are both bad for the environment, we chose the material based on its specific uses. For example, in Charter Oak, it's pretty much impossible to get an asphalt machine down to the area we need, and that's why we chose concrete in that case. Areas where we can get an asphalt machine in, asphalt is generally slightly cheaper.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that answer. Thank you.
President Johnson, I'd like to pull 10D, as in dog.
Okay, any others? Is there a motion for the rest of the calendar of consent items?
Yeah, I'll move to approve items 10A, 10B, 10C, 10E.
Second.
Question? Roll call?
Trustee Birchey.
Aye.
Trustee Covington.
Aye.
Trustee Harrent.
Aye.
Trustee Hill.
Aye.
Trustee Montez.
Aye.
Vice President Sierra.
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, Trustee Sierra?
Thank you,
10D.
President Johnson. So really, this is a comment. I'm going to vote to get this passed, but I know, especially as chair of DEIA, when I look at projects like this that come before our board, I think about the opportunity to support minority workforces as well as minority businesses as well. I couldn't help but to notice how, there's just no racial minority, or if there are some, potentially very little. I see that we have two employees listed as other, but there's very small utilization and participation in this contract. And I think that as we continue to talk about how do we encourage and how we best collaborate with underrepresented business owners, we really have to take an intentional look at these workforce profiles and the intent of the companies to subcontract to potentially offset, when companies do not, reflect the diversity percentage or total that we would prefer as individuals or as collectives. So that's number one. Number two, it's my understanding that, there is some discretion to the board as we look at contracts like this to potentially reissue the bid for said contract in order for us to meet minority goals as well. And I'm not saying that's the case for this. Again, I'm going to move to approve this, but again, that goes back to the intentionality of, how serious are we about ensuring minority workforce participation as well as utilization of said companies as well. So that being said, one quick question, Emily or Attorney Streeter, whomever, am I correct in understanding that when we do have contracts like this, as well as concerns like this board reserves the right to potentially reissue this bid in order to meet minority goals? Or Becky, whomever.
I'm going to let Becky weigh in on that. I would say that certainly the differentiation in the quotes makes this one difficult to justify. I will also tell you that at least one of those minority contractors does have significant business with the Park District.
Yeah, she's correct. Givesco does a lot of work with the Park District. And this one, they obviously were not really interested in doing. They just threw us a number. So,
Is this GIFSCO that they're referring to?
correct.
A black minority contractor?
Right, and we do a lot of work with GIVSCO. They actually were on that, the list of bills that Trustee Montez pointed out today, where they did a lot of work at Proctor. They do a lot of work for the Park District. We ask them for quotes all the time.
So just to confirm, I'm correct in my understanding. So this is a minority-owned business?
No, Caliber Coatings is not. They're a veteran-owned. GIVSCO is the minority-owned company that Emily is referencing.
Okay.
And there's this, I mean, what I said was there's about an $18,000 difference there. So in this case, they didn't quote this bid in a way that makes that close, right? And we are required to take the responsible bidder. I just wanted to recognize that we do give a lot of business and work with GIVSCO frequently. They are receiving a lot of our projects. So in the cumulative, you would see the workforce numbers in this space that are, there is a good minority percentage of participation. It just happens to be this singular job is a spot that has 3 employees, one of whom is other.
So 2 questions. To my original question, does this board return the right in the event that we're not satisfied with minority workforce participation to reissue the bid?
In terms of, we could reissue it at any time in terms of putting it back out for additional numbers. We could just reject all bids or all quotes.
I just want to confirm that is
Yeah,
something
that
we
is, that
could
is an
do.
option.
Okay.
But the threshold is a $30,000 number. So that's the difference between quotes and bids, so.
And then, so secondly, and I appreciate that, I just wanted to confirm my understanding in that. And then secondly, when we do have minority contractors, because we understand this is all about capacity, right? Especially when we receive these quotes. So when we do have instances like this where minority contractors are so off, far left field, what conversations and what internal controls do we have to help them, position themselves better to actually be procured in future?
Yeah, like I said, GIVSCO usually is right there in terms of low or very comparable. This one, they told us that they really weren't. They threw a number at it. I mean, just to provide a number, but yet they really weren't interested in this specific job.
So, and again, I appreciate that, and I'm happy that we do a lot of business with GIFSCO. I'm just trying to, do some education for myself. So let's take GIFSCO out the equation. When we have other minority contractors who are far left, I know we're having conversations. That's why we have people like what's our procurement? She's in our DEI committee. I'm sorry. Tammy, thank you. So I know we're having conversations with said contractors because that's why we have folks like Tammy. What are those conversations looking like when we do have folks who are far left field? In terms of giving us a quote. So when we get a quote from a minority contractor, and it is completely out of range, it's something that we can't even consider because it's $13,000 or $18,000 over bid. Are we having conversations with them to say, how you can better position yourself to be more competitive in the bidding process?
I'm trying to think back to specific instances, but yeah, if there was anything really off, we would definitely talk to them. Because we really do want to encourage them to be part of all of our work.
I also think there's just you want to be responsive, right? So they wanted to say, hey, we are still interested in you, but we don't really have the capacity to do this job. So I don't want you to read too much into this. Anytime things are really out of whack, we do work with contractors to make sure that they understand the expectations and we kind of see what happened. Sometimes that's because their bid is so much lower than everybody else's, right? To say, can you really do this job? And so this group, Becky and her team and Tammy, that whole crew is so communicative. There are rules about what we can do and when we can talk and what we can say. But in this case, right, Sometimes you just want to say, I'm still here. This one's not for me, but just know I'm still here, so send me the next one. And that's what's happened in this case.
No, I appreciate that, and the answer that both you, well, I'm looking for. So we conversations to better help educate our minority contractors on how they can be more competitive and potentially be procured in the future. So that's all I was.
We're not saying like giving them a hint, right? On what, oh, you're too high or you're too low. We can't do that, I don't
You
think.
can't.
Well, no, and that's not what I'm insinuating. So a part of a lot of our DEIA conversations, we talk about how we can provide technical assistance and support to smaller firms in order to better position themselves with larger contractors. So that I'm not saying give away the keys, if you will, but just you providing that technical assistance so we can actually help these smaller contractors build capacity.
The answer is yes.
Thank you. President Johnson, with that being said, I move to approve. Move to approve 10D.
I'll second.
Question. Now, this particular contractor, they have no minorities at all working for them at all? Is that what it's saying? My computer is down. They don't have any at all?
They have one other. They have just other. Other and not white.
Okay, you made the motion. Question. Roll call.
Trustee Burchey? Trustee Covington?
Aye.
Trustee Harrod?
Aye.
Trustee Hill?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Vice President Sierra?
Aye.
President Johnson?
All right, motion carries. We'll have further discussion on that later. All right, thank you. All right. I don't know, I know we've had these conversations before, when we have bidders that come in to the Park District, and most of them get federal monies for their organizations, some of them do, from what I've been told. Is that correct, or do they?
It is, but I think this might be a different situation.
different
So
situation.
let's talk about this one offline.
Offline?
If you
Okay,
don't mind.
that'd be fine. All right, thank you. All righty, any pending business? Citizen request to address the board? Any communications anybody want to talk about or discuss? We don't have any action steps reviews. Other business? That issue we just talked about, can that be brought up in our business later? Thank you. 15A, consideration of a motion to convene. Are we going to special? Is there something that we need to?
Yeah. This is to
Is that, okay. So I need a motion then for 15A for consideration of a motion to convene in the closed session under the Illinois Open Meetings Act. 2C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal for specific employees of the public body.
President Johnson, I move to convene in closed session under Open Meetings Act 2C1.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Question? Roll call.
Trustee Burchey?
Aye.
Trustee Covington?
Aye.
Trustee Harrod?
Aye.
Trustee Hill?
Aye.
Trustee Montez?
Aye.
Vice President Sierra?
Aye.
President Johnson?
Aye, motion carries.
Now,